Well, welcome. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy weekends and their lives to come out and support Mountain Post Living and learn a little bit something new. I'm very passionate about this, so if I start getting squirrely, I'll rein myself back in. If you have questions, feel free to ask. I am mic'd up, so they may not hear you, so I might repeat your question for the crowd. You're all here because you're interested in running in some way, shape, or form, whether you're new to it and want to get better at it. You've been at it a long time and just it starts to hurt. We blame age, as I was talking to our commander here, and you're like, it just hurts to run now. Well, this may be an opportunity for you to run with less pain, provide you new techniques, because running is a skill, and we're going to kind of talk about that in an echelon format as far as you need to teach yourself how to do it. If you want to look for running in its purest form, look for a toddler. I mean, they just run, and somewhere in that aging, so probably 5, 6, 10 years old, we lose that capability. So we need to teach that skill to ourselves in some way, shape, or form. So we do this for this particular seminar through pose. Pose is a particular method of running, and it truly is a method. And it's a great way to communicate. So I'm going to ask George to come up here as a demonstrator, and this really kind of lays home why we're using pose as to do this. So we all say what running is. We kind of had a concept in our head, right? So try to describe running to me. Can anybody want to give it a shot? What's running? Kevin Hashimoto.
I would say it is moving at a rate faster than a walk.
So move at a rate faster than walk.
One foot is moving in front of the other always. Moving in front of the other with one foot on the ground. That's better.
Anybody else? But do you see how this can be difficult when you say, how are we going to teach you how to run and how to run better? We need a communication style, right? A common operating picture, a common operating language. Pose is that language, right? So pose is a method of telling or describing and communicating how you run. You don't run pose. And you ask, well, what is pose? Through the research that's done, this came out of years of research by Romanoff and company. There's books out there you can read. Pose is a corporate answer to what's out there. The folks here, I'm joined by Allison, she's under the tent, Brianna, George, and myself. I'm Chris. I think I introduced myself if I didn't. I'm Chris. I'm the Chief of Physical Therapy up at Evans Army Community Hospital, and these wonderful folks are on my staff there. We're all certified coaches through this technique, through this pose company. And what they've shown through their research is that no matter how you get at running, you end up in this figure 4 position in some way, shape, or form. And that is the pose. How you get there and get out of it describes your efficiency. And then we're going to use this language to improve your efficiency, reduce strain through your body. They found that it can reduce the impact stress through the knees by over 50%. And that's pretty intensive, right? So you think about 3 times your body weight every time you hit the ground, translating through your joints. We want to reduce that because then we can run longer, right? And we can be more efficient with that. So as we said, running is a skill. Well, with any skill, painting, building things, you need to have a technique to do so, and you have to teach yourself that. So we're going to teach you the techniques, which is the breakout sessions we're going to do, to teach you those techniques to become a better runner. And the style in which you do so, we're going to describe it as a style, as a 4-foot running style, landing through here, and using this method to communicate it. Because the concept is we want to improve running, correct? And that's on your first slide. But once you understand that this isn't a run, but it's a way of communicating, it makes a lot more sense. So when we look at running, we talked about that figure 4 position and how you get there, and we want to improve that. We look at how you hit, whether it's a heel strike, which is highly inefficient, and you'll feel that in a few minutes when we go through the perception drills. Every time you hit your heel, it's like putting on the brakes. Do we want to drive with our foot on the brake the whole time? No, it's going to impede your motion forward. So we want to try to bring that movement forward by reducing some of those impact stresses through the body. And by doing so, landing underneath your body weight like this, you can use all of the musculotendinous elasticity, all that stretch in your tendons and in your muscles to help absorb that impact stress, redistribute it through these greater bodies as opposed to just through the joints and the bones and those small contact areas, to reduce that stress and make you more efficient. So now you can use that spring, that elastic, and then boom, forward again of your muscles and tissues. And you do that using the pose method. So how do we do that? We don't want to break, right? What's a constant in our lives besides death and taxes? Gravity, right? Nothing happens without gravity. Our muscles, if you are in outer space floating in the ether, your muscles move, but what happens? You just kind of hang out there, right? So we use gravity to impart a force upon our mass, our body, because you don't have weight without gravity, right? So we're going to use our muscles to move your weight forward. And how do we do that? We're going to use gravity. And Brianna here is going to talk a little bit more about how that plays in as we move forward with these techniques.
All right, so he just talked about gravity. So what's the difference between the way an astronaut tries to move on the moon versus us here on Earth? As far as the visual, what does it look like? What?
Looks like swimming.
Swimming, right. Do we need another wonderful demo from Sergeant Gonzalez of, let's see the slow-mo astronaut, right? So, right, and it still doesn't look right because the difference is the gravity is different from here, right? Perfect, thank you. The gravity is different on Earth than it is on the moon. So what we're going to try to do is take advantage of gravity, and we do that by what we call the fall. So he talked about, Major Rimler talked about the pose. I'm going to briefly discuss the fall and the pull, and then we'll get started putting this all into action, and it will kind of come together as the day goes on. So the fall is essentially taking advantage of torque. So if you look at the slide and you look at the far right picture, it shows a man falling into pull. That's what the gray is. And the white is him actually falling forward using torque. So the axis of rotation is where your foot's landing, and then gravity is going to help actually push us forward. And then the next thing I'll demonstrate is with Sergeant Gonzalez again. All right, so an idea of what this looks like, and we'll all do this together here in a minute, is he's gonna put all of his weight into me. This is a trust game here, right? So he's trusting me completely. And this is him having no activation other than a little bit of core activation. I'm gonna push him backward, and then he's just gonna allow himself to fall, okay? And then push him backward. So that's what gravity is doing. It's allowing him to fall forward, and you'll see that as we go through the exercises later. The second thing we'll talk about several times throughout this day is the pull. And the pull is our way of trying to make you more muscularly efficient. So we want to decrease the amount of muscle activation as best as we can. The fall does that, but another thing that does that is the pull. Majority of us tend to push off. So if you've had Achilles tendonitis, calf soreness, anything like that, it usually means that you're pushing off too much with the calf muscles. So instead, we're going to try to use your entire leg. Your thigh muscles are obviously larger muscle groups, and they allow you to move more efficiently if you actually use them. So a majority of us get really tight here in the hip flexor and really tight or sore in the calf, and the pull will allow you to actually use the hamstring and other muscle groups that we're really not taking advantage of. What I'd like you all to do next is come on out of the bleachers and just stand up and just make a line in front of, starting from here all the way to in front of the tent. And this will just be a quick demo so you can understand what I'm about to talk about. So what I want you to do is I just want you to do about 5 hops. All right. And I want you to notice what muscle groups are working. All right. And then what I want you to do, instead of pushing off, I want you to pull up. So I want you to just briefly pull the feet up from the ground instead of pushing off. Okay? Okay. And then relax. So now what I want you to do is, the other concept we'll talk about is unweighting today. So now what I want you to do is unweight by lifting the shoulders. So I want you to do just 5 lifting up and then 5 with the shoulders lifting up, and see the difference in the weight of how you feel. Go ahead. So 5 hops and then 5 with the shoulders up. And it should feel lighter and easier when you do that, right? Okay, good. All right, so we're also gonna talk a little bit about skill. What's the difference between mechanics and actual technique? So the mechanics is how we do something, and the technique is actually achieving the skill or working on the movement so you become a better mover. So who's played soccer when they were younger, right? Okay, a couple people. How many people played sports when they were younger, right? So if you played a sport when you were younger, did it come natural to you? Most people could try to kick a ball or throw a ball. All of us can try to run or run, but the difference between someone who's good at it and not is practice. So some of you may be asking, why do I need to learn a specific technique when I run? The difference is the skill. So if we can, like Major Rimlard said, if we can have a method to teach you so that you become more efficient, that's gonna how you achieve the skill to be faster and to have less pain with running. All right, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna split into groups. Sergeant Gonzalez, you guys can follow him and we'll circle up around him.
We've got some good resources here in the community. I just encourage you all to try to take these techniques, and if they work for you, fantastic, and hopefully we've made a difference in your ability to enjoy exercise, get out there, and live that mountain post living lifestyle, getting out, enjoying what we're doing in a fun, healthy fashion. And if you have any questions, you can hit us up at the Evans Army Community Hospital Physical Therapy Clinic, or other community events as we're out there. If nobody has any further questions, enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy the running. Thank you.